So, good morning, everybody, and it's great to have you with us. It's joining Jamie and Jacqui live from Educogym on our Facebook Live. Today, we're going to cover healthy at every age. And Jacqui, how are you?
Good morning. I'm fantastic.
Good, bright, and full of energy,
Absolutely.
and looking lovely.
I just thank you, Jamie. We're in our cream again today, matching.
That's it. Yeah, that's actually
Yeah.
a slightly pink tone to it, but there you go.
Always
Pink. Yeah. So, how are you
pink.
getting on? We're in the midst of a 12-day transformation, and we're both doing different types of programs. Similar type of training actually, but different diets. How's yours going?
Well, it's 12 weeks, Jamie, not 12 days.
God, I'm
You said
12 days
12.
in. I'm 12 days in.
I'm doing great, actually. I'm really seeing results in the last week. We've upped our training quite to intensely to 2 sessions a day, which is a new experience. But I suppose for listeners, that is not required. We're just going after something very specific. So, no, I'm having fun. I'm doing it. But, Jamie, I kind of think that, as you get older, especially into your 40s, it's a little bit more challenging, but you can still get the results. But you just have to be very spot on with everything,
You sure do.
don't
And
you?
you're doing a kind of a low carbohydrate, more fat and protein type diet. How are you finding that?
Yeah, so I did the low fat that you were doing for a week. I tried it. It was totally different experience for me. I haven't done a real low fat like that in years. But like the low fat, it's stricter again than what we would give out in our diets in the gym. So since I switched to the high fat, I'm much happier because fat fills you, and
And
it
tastes good.
just and it tastes good. But again, it's about getting the balance spot on with the fat and protein. And I know a lot of people follow keto eating plans out there, but to really get serious results fast, I suppose you have to have that balance spot on. And that's why we always say it's good to work with a coach or somebody who's experienced in that field to just tweak the diet accordingly to get those results and to propel you forward with it. So
Yeah.
it's good. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, it is. It's very interesting. I'm doing a low fat version and super low fat actually, and mainly taking in a really high level of protein and focusing on green veg and green salads, which maybe doesn't sound that appealing, but actually, once you add in flavors and herbs and spices, it's very doable. And I've got my weight is falling off me. I've lost 10 pounds in 2 weeks. So it's been rapid. I don't remember losing weight quite quick before, but definition is really coming up and the waist is coming down. And that's really important for anybody watching this or listening to this.
Mm-hmm.
You want to try and lose fat and not lose muscle. And
Also,
most people, and particularly as you get older, you definitely don't want to lose muscle, whatever about when you're younger. And we're going to talk today a lot about maybe the different things that people need to focus on to be healthy as you get older. Because as we know, it definitely changes. So, what you do and the approach that you take in your 20s, you can really obviously do some really important things that are going to stand to you as you get older. But certainly when you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, then you really do have to change your approach as you're getting older. So we've put together a healthy at every age guide, and we're going to make that available to everybody who's watching this or listening to this. You'll be able to download it, and it just really we're going to briefly touch on some things that we think that will make a difference no matter what age you are. So we're going to start in the different categories. But is there anything? I mean, obviously we from what we've covered in these sessions before, we obviously really want people to make sure that they're maintaining or even regaining lost muscle. I think that's primarily one of the key factors I think for energy and for health. That I mean, obviously that's the approach that we take, right?
absolutely. I mean, the muscle tissue is the key element of it all. You have to get in the protein to hold that muscle to get your metabolism working much better. And as you get older, like, Jamie, in your 20s and your 30s, even, it's so easy to get results. And, but a lot of the results people usually get is through limiting their calories and going on low calorie starvation diets. So they're depleting themselves of that protein. And I think that's why it can become more challenging for people as they get older, because of all this yo-yo dieting. They've actually affected their metabolism in a negative way. So in order to correct that, you just need to, as we said, like, with Educogym, the first step when people come into us is that they have a clear goal on what they want to actually achieve. And the first step we get them to do then is the training. We do the resistance training. And doing the right type of training, especially as you get older, is absolutely crucial. Like, I remember when I was younger, I started going to a gym in my probably when I was 16. I was living in Cork City, and there was a gym nearby, and I used to go there, and I'd be on the treadmill, running, following pasta, eating pasta and tuna and all of that, but getting actually no results with all my effort, even at that age. So when I was in my 20s, that's when I switched it, because I became aware of insulin and resistance training. And once I started to do that and apply that, the results started to happen. So, it's the other thing I'd like to say too is that, like, if we think about it, Jamie, I think last week we said that, obesity is at an all-time epidemic, right? So, what is that showing us? That all those books written on diet and nutrition, all those aerobic classes, are they working? They're not working. Because if they were working, everybody would be in shape, and people are definitely taking more action on their health. And what causes people to get very frustrated is when they're not seeing the results. We can say that all the clients that come into us will say that they've tried absolutely everything, but they're not getting results any longer. And that's why it's important to get the right type of education to cause those results to happen. And that's why we're so successful at Educogym, because we have a scientific formula that works. Everything we do is based on science. So, as you're getting older, to understand the mechanics of that is so important, Jamie, isn't it? So, like, going back, you asked me about muscle. So right now, like, you're even putting a focus on extra protein, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm probably taking maybe 50% more protein than I would normally take. And then with the supplements that I'm taking, it's all about making sure that I'm getting the right amino acids, making sure that I'm taking supplements that are going to help me to either stop muscle breaking down. So things like the casein protein that you have there in the background, that has a very good anti-catabolic effect. So as you get older, from about 25 as a female, 27 as a man, your body changes for being anabolic, which means it's holding on to protein, building up muscle, and then it switches when you stop growing and it becomes catabolic. So that casein is very much anti-catabolic. In fact, we had somebody on Facebook last night asking us, she says, is there anything you can do in your 60s? Can you gain muscle? And absolutely. And you can certainly stop the body from losing muscle by taking the right approach. And if she's watching this, definitely supplementing with protein as you get older and doing resistance training makes such a huge difference. So yeah, I'm taking different things to really hold on to have a sort of an anti-cortisol effect. So cortisol being the hormone that breaks down muscle. So taking things to stop that, and then making sure I really get plenty of protein, so that you're almost getting stronger as you're burning off body fat. That's really critical. If you can do that, you're on a winner. So that's the plan. So yeah, I mean, we'll run through what we have put together on this guide, and that way then we can look at maybe some of the key areas for maybe each decade of life, and then we'll have people, if you've got any questions, you can obviously ask us away. So we put together this healthy at every age, how to optimize your fitness and self-care at any age. And it's a great guide, because it just give you different tips, and no matter what age you are, or if you want to focus on helping members of your family become healthier, you'll be some great tips in here. You can pass this on to them, and they'll be able to have something to refer to. So I think in the 20s, you're in such good shape, hopefully, but you certainly have everything stacked in your favor, because your body, as we said before, is still anabolic as opposed to catabolic, which happens when you creep into your 30s. So it's really about, I think, taking action at that age to understand that what you do in your 20s is really going to stand to you as you get older. So, I think focusing on the healthy lifestyle. So maybe knocking things on the head like smoking or drinking lots of alcoholic beverages. And nobody's saying that you should become a teetotaler, but certainly reducing alcohol and then really eating a nutritious diet. And actually, a lot of the things I've been reading about recently when people are taking an approach on encouraging people to follow a healthier diet, it's not so much about cutting things out, right? It's
Yeah.
more about what you would add in. So what would you think would be good things to add in to your diet if you're in your 20s that could make a huge difference? What sort of foods are
Um,
going to be a
you
benefit?
know, I actually think, Jamie, that if people, we need to educate ourselves, right? Because we are facing a serious issue with health, right? All you have to do is look around. I know that when I was in school as, a young person, there was nobody overweight in my class, right? So that's going
Mm.
back. Okay, let's go back even 30 years ago when I was in primary school. But even in secondary school, there was very few people who were overweight, right? So
Yeah.
parents need to wake up, right? And I know life is fast, and that convenience eating is just so handy, but it starts at home, I suppose, and it starts with education. So if you can take the lead and start to transform yourself, you will be an impact to your kids. You'll understand more what to do and how to nourish their bodies better. And as you said, it's not a case of like where you have to cut out everything, but it's about getting good staples in your diet. So Jamie, you have two young boys and you give them the casein protein powder. So when
Yeah.
they're having their porridge, you were saying there, I think in one of the talks that they don't like it, but if you put the chocolate protein into it, that they love it. Now that's a seriously good, nourishing meal that will fill your child up, that will give them the right type of protein, the right type of complex carbs, which will be fantastic for their energy, which will make them feel better. So the types of foods that we're putting into our body are going to affect every area, our energy, our mental health. And the other thing is that we are facing a serious issue with mental health also. And I do think that's something that we need to address. They're doing at the moment, I think last night was the darkness into light, where people
Mm.
were, doing the walk, and well done to everybody who was doing it. But it is something that needs to be highlighted. But if people could understand that one of the best antidepressants, if you want to say, is that when people actually eat a proper diet and they do a bit of exercise. And that's why I would say it starts with the parents. They need to be the example to their children, to encourage them and set that precedent. So that's why I have a client who signed up, and I'm sure, Jamie, there's a lot of our clients online where they could bring their family into it, because I had a man asking me and another woman asking me about their kids, about getting them into shape. And as a nutritionist, I know that I've worked with kids, and they may not always take the lead on the strict nutrition to get the result, but you can get them more active. So that's what I love about our online training plan, is that the whole family can do it. So, if you're worried about your child, well, then if you start exercising and bring the kids into it, they love it because they love that interaction. And that's a good positive effect for all of you to start moving. So what foods, look, in your 20s, Jamie, I think that everybody just eats what they want, drinks, people do all the wrong things. And it's not until you get older you actually start to become, you're thinking, geez, I want more years of my life, and I want those years to be good years. So I think in the 20s, if people could just educate themselves on nutrition, because especially a lot of girls, more so than maybe than men, will go and stop eating to get results. And I often think, wow, if they could only understand, by taking even a protein drink that's high in protein, low in calories, low in carbs, but giving them their calcium, like if they want to restrict their food, if they could just take the right type of foods to get the results, that would be brilliant. So it's always going to come back to protein at every meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That sets the foundation of good nutrition, isn't it, Jamie? Is there
Yeah,
anything else there that
absolutely.
you would think?
Yeah, I think if you can add in some really good quality low glycemic fruits in the morning, could be really good. Just antioxidants, very good for skin, very good for hair. Maybe making sure that you do get some good green leafy vegetables, whatever vegetables you enjoy, and making sure that you're adding in or green salads and salads that are very vibrant in energy and health, and adding those in. So no matter what else you have in your diet, but just making sure that you get in portions of those for for lunch and for dinner can make such a huge difference. Looking after your gut health, I mean, I think everybody's becoming much more aware of how important their digestive system is, because how you digest your food, how you absorb it, is going to produce the body you see, and you really have to realize that. So if your skin isn't in good condition, that's not just something that's topical. It's come from the inside. It's a reflection of your lifestyle factors, what you're eating and how you're doing. If I could give anybody advice, if you could kick fizzy drinks,
Oh,
it's maybe something that you do as a child, but there's a point where you have to grow up, and maybe kicking those on the head or at early on would be brilliant, because they are so damaging to your gut health.
yes.
They're so acidic. The phosphoric acid in things like Coca-Cola are just don't produce a good environment, and all the sugar on top of that, it's just not great for gut health. And you really are going to appreciate good gut health as you get older. So I definitely think that would be one thing. We have,
Jamie, on the
yeah,
fizzy drinks, can I just say, because it fascinates me how people, like, I have a client and I told her no fizzy drinks, nothing, just water and plain water or plain sparkling water. So I got her to take pictures of her food plans, and I happened to spot sparkling water enhanced with strawberries and pineapple. And I said, what are you doing drinking that? Yeah, but it's only, no. So people, I honestly, these my waddies, these flavorings to the water, like, honestly, guys, cut them out. We don't need them. They're only bad habits. So Jamie's right. If anything you can take in your 20s is stop taking those fizzy drinks or those flavorings to your waters, and
yeah,
just add in
any of
natural
those
fruit.
yeah, pure sugars, just get rid of them. You just actually
Yeah.
won't miss them very quickly. You'll lose the addiction, and it won't be a habit that you'll persist with, because they really are much more damaging than you can realize. So that would
Yeah.
definitely be stress management when you're young, because there are a lot of changes, and I don't know whether it is because you're young, they can seem such dramatic changes and maybe not used to them. And I think that we were looking at a number of different ways. I think we put a post on Instagram yesterday, or LinkedIn. It's hard to keep up with all the content. But one of the things we were saying about managing your mindset was surrounding yourself with people who are good attitude and have a good mindset, following people who you admire and who really are, producing something in the world. And reading good, really positive documentaries about people who have succeeded, or listening to really good podcasts when you have downtime, or you're in travel, or you're going to work. Fill your mind with good stuff, because
Mhm.
it really will inspire you. It rubs off on you. And I mean, I know just from the competition that we're doing at the moment, that was because you're just listening to the right people and involved in different things, and then thinking, God, I really want to set my mind on that. And then suddenly you find yourself doing it, and suddenly you see the change, and you get this kind of momentum that goes with it. So I think that's really important. We were lucky to go on an Educo seminar when we were in our 20s, and it made such a difference. We learned more about how to manage your mind, and really how to surround yourself with the right people, and why it's important, and really getting the education, I think, that then causes you to do it. So it's one thing to intellectually understand something, but then when you get an actual understanding, that's when it really transforms. So the Educo seminar is something that we would highly recommend. But when you go into an Educogym, we're really focused on the mind and teaching you how to use it to your advantage. And thought should be a tool to allow you to create, not something that controls you. So I think that's really important.
Absolutely. And Jamie, just practical tips for parents who might be listening to this and are worried, especially about their young children. Because I know that a lot of clients are discussing that with me of late. One thing I would recommend is to take Pantac. I actually think I have it here. Pantac is actually a really, really good product for stress. Sorry, I don't know how can I get it
There
in.
you are. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, to have it. So Pantac is a fantastic product that you could start getting them to take, because it builds up your adrenal glands. And they say that most people by the age of 20 have fatigued adrenal glands. So your adrenal glands are the glands that help you cope with stress. So remember, people aren't eating the right diet, and they're not getting enough exercise, and now they're on their phones all the time. So if you could get, and the fizzy drinks, by the way, what we spoke about earlier, they play havoc on those adrenal glands. So if you can get them taking Pantac, 6 tablets, 6 supplement capsules a day,
Yeah.
It takes about 3 weeks for that to build up in the system, but they call it the happy vitamin. So they'll find that they can cope better, that they're happier, they're more resilient. That's a huge thing. The other thing I'm going to say as well about stress for youngsters is, especially with the pandemic, because people might be experiencing uh, more issues now, right? But a great tool is if you go to the Educogym Facebook page, and under
Yeah.
videos, go to Tom McKenna's relaxations, because there's a lot of sense in what Tom's talking about there, about what we teach in the Educo model, about how to use your mind.
Yeah.
And I think they could relate to that and encourage them to
Definitely.
do those relaxations, and then to do the resistance training with you via the online training would be fantastic. And it makes a massive difference to your overall health and well-being.
Massive difference. I came across
Mm-hmm.
relaxation just before I went on the Educo seminar, and it was one of the things that had such an impact on me, actually. So
Yeah.
definitely, and it's great to start that habit young, because it really will stand to you as you get older. So absolutely, totally agree with that.
And I was
So,
13, Jamie, when I started all those
oh
relaxation
wow.
classes. So kids are interested in it. So, don't think they won't be. Just show them where to access it and let it up to them. But at least they've got a resource to go to.
Okay, brilliant. So, learn to de-stress, find your fitness, healthy and nutritious foods. So that's your 20s. So into your 30s. So when you're in your 30s, you're often coming into your own. Maybe people have young families. Energy is still high, which is great, but you're probably noticing that your metabolism is slightly slowing down, particularly as you head into your mid 30s. So the good news, obviously, is you can really address these challenges just by developing new habits. And I think when you're in your 30s, it's so important to start some type of resistance based training, right? And really try and see, can you get your nutrition right? Something, obviously, a diet that's going to suit you, but making sure that you're eating really good food, because that helps. It certainly helps to sustain your energy and make sure that you're not going to suddenly see a drop, which can actually happen rapidly for people if they've really had a poor lifestyle in their 20s and then maintaining that poor lifestyle into their 30s. And people in their 30s are noticing that they're getting sicker more than they ever used to be. So
Well, Jamie, if they
yeah,
have, just if they do have, like, I've definitely experienced that a lot of people, unhealthy is normal. So sometimes people don't realize that they're so unhealthy until they become healthier, right? So
absolutely.
an indication is, if your waistline is, they say that your waistline shouldn't be more than half your height in inches, isn't it? So let's say you're 5'6". That's 66 inches. So half that is 33 inches. So your waistline shouldn't be over 33. Otherwise, you're running all the health risks. So if your waistline is, you're carrying a lot of fat around it, you need to take action. You are unhealthy if you're carrying all that fat around the tummy area. So
Absolutely.
when you take action is when you really experience that optimal health. So I just
It's
wanted
where
to point that out.
your waistline is your lifeline.
Yeah,
So yeah,
absolutely.
so it's definitely making sure that you're getting enough calories to give you plenty of energy, and then but making sure that you're getting rid of sort of processed, empty calorie foods, and definitely upgrading your workout. It's so important from your 30s that you start doing resistance training, because you're going to start to lose muscle. So anything you can do to maintain it or add it back would be hugely important. We're really just going to fly through these, but you'll be able to download this guide, as I said, after we've covered it. So, what about when you get into your 40s? I think it's really just tweaking things as you get older, but again, paying even more attention to nutrition is so important. So
Absolutely. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so you can see things like obviously making sure that you're getting nutrient-rich foods, which are sort of fruits, vegetables, lean proteins can be very good. I mean, what about, we often talk about the source of protein. What would you say, Jacqui, just in terms of, you're going to a supermarket or you're going to a butcher or a fishmonger, what sort of proteins would you be looking for, do you think?
Well, for breakfast, for example, it's very important to start your first meal of the day with a protein because that's going to really help your metabolism. And that's one thing I've noticed with Irish people. We don't tend to eat protein for our breakfast. It's more carb orientated, like porridge or cereal, Weetabix or so on, or slice of toast. There's no protein there. So proteins would be yogurts. So if you have some natural yogurt, preferably the natural flavored, because the ones that have fruit added into it are much higher in sugar. It's much better to put your own fruit into that natural yogurt. Natural yogurt, eggs are a fantastic source of protein. You can have those for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. You can make scrambled egg, omelets, poached eggs, fry your eggs, whatever, but eggs are fantastic. Cottage cheese, even though it's hard to get it at the moment, I've noticed it's in short supply. So cottage cheese is a great source of protein. I even remember, Jamie, when I was younger and I was trying to increase my protein, I used to load a load of fruit into cottage cheese, and I forced it, and I used to absolutely detest it, but I absolutely love it now. So it's amazing, little baby steps. So if you're saying, oh, I hate natural yogurt, just start taking a few dessert spoons, then slightly gradually build on that. Then obviously, fishes like tuna, sardines, mackerel, salmon, whitefish, cod, plaice, tuna, all of those fishes and the meats are great sources of protein. Cheese, again, is if you're on more, unless you're specifically on a high fat eating plan, the only cheese you really should be eating is the low fat cottage cheese. But if you're on a high fat, you can eat cheese, obviously. But they're great sources of protein. And the casein protein, I mean, honestly, that casein protein can be given to any age, and it's delicious. There's so many different ways that you can make it up. So that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're going to a butcher, you could often look for grass-fed meat, which is very important because it changes the balance of fats in the animal when they either are grain-fed or grass-fed. Wild fish are going to be eating their more natural diet. So, for example, if you eat farmed salmon, it's very high, almost 4 times the amount of a fat called arachidonic acid, which causes pain and inflammation, versus wild salmon, which is much higher in omega-3, which is more anti-inflammatory. Mm-hmm. And that is hugely important. You're going to see more and more about that. The balance of fats in the body and how it causes your immune system to function. So when you get a good balance of essential fatty acids, you get a normal functioning immune system, and that's when it's functioning at its optimal. And when you change around the balance of fats, then it can cause some of your immune system to become almost overactive, and then you can get things like chronic inflammation. So you can see there we have eat foods that fight inflammation, which is linked to many chronic diseases. So consider including healthy fats like omega-3 fatty acids. That would be hugely important in your 40s. It's important at any age, really, but obviously as you get older, you're really trying
Jamie,
to keep
what about
down.
chicken? I think, we encourage a lot of clients, because everybody's eating chicken, and it's probably one of the most toxic sources of protein that a person can eat. And people are always shocked when they hear that. But I even remember being down with Darina Allen in Ballymaloe, where she actually spoke about chicken as well and how toxic it is nowadays. So it takes 80 to 100 days to rear a chicken, but they're rearing them in 28 days now because they just inject them with a lot of crap that we really don't want to be taking in. So if anybody has any skin issues or cysts or polycystic ovaries or anything like that, they really need to take out that chicken. And I often say to people, because it's such a staple in people's diets, that even if you're eating it 7 days a week, cut back to 2 days a week. That's an improvement in your health of it. Yeah.
Yeah, chicken. You think of it like a commodity. So if you're in business and you're trying to produce chicken, you want to try and produce as much as you can, as fast as you can, in as small a space as possible to reduce your rents. So unfortunately, those type of practices means that the meat is not very healthy. And so if the meat is sick and you're eating meat that was sick, it's obviously not going to be full of life force and energy. And there's going to be all sorts of things like antibiotics and hormones and all sorts of stuff that you really don't want to be eating in a very concentrated, small animal. So, in a larger animal, that sort of stuff is not as concentrated. So we would definitely, in Ireland, you can get some great grass-fed beef. You can get some really good quality proteins. You can get access to wild fish. So we would think definitely stay away from very processed chicken. Trying organic, I know, is quite expensive, almost prohibitively expensive. But even free range is better than caged. So yeah, and you might consider definitely looking at things like supplements as you get into your 40s and increasing your level of protein, maybe looking at good antioxidants and multivitamins, those type of things, and then maybe taking an omega-3 supplement. About 95% of people don't have the right balance of omega-3 to omega-6, by the way, in the modern diet. So that's it's definitely something that
And
you should consider.
Jamie, your health is an investment, not an expense. So I
So
think that
true.
people, yeah, they need to invest in these food supplements because we're not getting what we need from, unfortunately, from regular food sources. And I often say, if you're kind of thinking, oh, I don't know, why don't you just commit to it for 6 weeks to 2 months and experience how much better you feel when you take certain food supplements? Feel free to drop into any of the Educo gyms in Ireland. There's a number of them in Dublin. I'm in Ennis. There's Galway. Come in, and you don't have to be just coming into us to do the training. We are more than happy to educate you and to advise you on the food supplements that we actually stock here. So, when we do reopen in a month's time, pop into us or go onto our website, and there's information on the supplements there. So, because I often say as well to people, like, I'd rather invest in these supplements now to keep myself healthy and out of hospitals. I don't want to go into one of those hospitals, and I don't want those health issues. So that's why,
100%.
that's one of my motivating factors, to make sure I train, eat healthy, reduce your alcohol consumption, things that are not going to really stand to you to be your best. So just
Very
thought
good.
I'd mention that.
It's very important.
Yes.
Absolutely. So as you get into your 50s, apparently we're going to be stronger and wiser. So it's a lot to look forward to. Um, you know, again, we're really just always tweaking the important things that, workouts are more important, particularly resistance training. So we would work with people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, even their 80s. And you really notice a huge difference when you do intensive weight training. Very short amounts. You only need to do about an hour a week, so it's 3 20-minute sessions. Actually, that's probably optimal so that you keep down your stress hormones. But I think there's nothing better that you can do. And particularly as you get into your 50s, and protein, again, even more important. And making sure that you get a very good, nutritious diet that's full of antioxidants, anti-inflammatories, all that sort of, all those elements are going to be so important. Maybe incorporating a little bit more flexibility or mobility work would be recommended as you get older.
Oh, yeah. So again, Jamie, and if people want to completely transform, at Educogym, our whole ethos is that we train the body, we train the mind. We have a model that can be applied to your life, and it can impact the community. So, all these steps are about increasing that life force, that health, that vibrancy, vitality. So by eating right, exercising, that brings it up. But the crucial and most important part is actually learning to use your mind right. And Dr. Tony Quinn, who developed and designed Educogym, also has the Educo model, which is all about the area of the mind and human potential. So it's about freeing up the life force. And the more you can free up the life force, the happier you're going to be. So if you imagine yourself like in a dark room and you're looking for that dimmer switch, and you find it and you start to turn it up, and everything starts to get brighter and brighter and brighter. And that's what it's about. So, a lot of people are using their mind against themselves. So they need to educate. So at Educogym, we educate you on nutrition and the right type of training, but we also educate you about the area of the mind, which is the most important part as far as I'm concerned. And it's the mind area was the reason even you and I, Jamie, got involved in Educogym, because
Yeah.
I suppose it's the vehicle for us to really help people to understand the Educo model to its absolute fullest, that when they control the mind, that frees up their life force, and that's where they're going to be at their healthiest, physically, mentally, spiritually, and socially. So the Educo model is the third cog in our wheel, where people can do a seminar and really learn the mechanics of their mind from the man, Dr. Tony Quinn, who has spent his whole life researching this area of human potential. And actually, recently, Jamie, I was watching the Steve Collins fight. I watched it. It just came up for some reason. And for people who are listening, who are wondering who Steve Collins, Dr. Tony Quinn trained him. Steve was his goal was to become world champion in boxing, and he was to fight Chris Eubank, who was 43 fights undefeated world champion. And he had 5 weeks before fighting him, and he approached Tony Quinn about working with him in the area of the mind. And Tony agreed, but he also worked with him on aspects of his health and his type of training. And the interesting thing with the training was that he stopped all aerobics, which is what all boxers do. And he got him concentrating more on resistance training. But anyway, long story short, Steve's big goal was to become world champion. And after working with Tony, what happens? He became world champion. So Tony teaches you about the area of the mind, how you can learn your outcomes, how you can imprint the goals that you want. And what was very interesting on that fight was that they also programmed in that for every punch that Chris Eubank gave Steve, he gave 2 back. And the records show that was actually what happened. So I just think the whole area of the mind is fascinating. We are literally we're not using half of our potential, and not even probably, we're only using a tiny bit of it. And the more that we use, the better your life is. So real health in every aspect is actually taking that third step in our model, which is to do the seminar and learn about your mind.
100%. Yeah, such a great investment. And to do it any age, but it makes such an enormous difference. So if we look at then as you get into your 50s, working on healthy sleep, lifestyle, and then we move into 60s. So I think even getting a regular checkup from your doctor is highly recommended into your 50s and 60s, just to see what's going on. As you maybe as a female, as you're getting into your 50s and 60s and going perimenopause and into menopause, understanding about the changes in hormones. And there's definitely so many things that you can do nutritionally and from point of view of exercise that can really help to balance those out. And a regular checkup, make sure that there's nothing going on that you don't want to have going on, and then knowing what to do about it. So that's obviously hugely important. So as you get older, being active is more and more important. Again, we're recommending, what happens as you can get older is that you lose that kind of mind-muscle connection. It's often why people become more unsteady, lose their balance. So doing some type of activity, we often do key exercises, which is like a form of Tai Chi. And that's a great way to maintain that mind-muscle connection. It's also a great form of meditation. But doing resistance training and doing different types of exercises at different speeds with different weights, that's really important for maintaining that mind muscle, because you really have to focus and concentrate to lift the weight and make sure that you're using the muscle that you're supposed to be using. And that concentration is it is meditation, but at the same time, from a health point of view, it really does help to maintain that mobility, flexibility, and also balance, which is so important as you get older. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay,
And
cool.
I was saying before, Jamie, that they a couple of years ago they were doing a lot of studies in a university in Brisbane, where they were taking women in their 50s and 60s and getting them to do resistance training 3 times a week. And what they found was that when they did that, it prevented osteoporosis. It helped with brittle bones. Women were giving testimonials that that prior to doing weights, if they fell, they could break something. But when they started lifting weights, that they found that if they fell, that they didn't break something, that they were much more stronger and resilient. So it's hugely important. Like even my own mother was doing weight training for a period of time, and she said to me that she had a fall. She fell and she went down in her arm, and that she said that if she hadn't been doing the weight training, she reckoned she would have broke her shoulder. But because her body was so strong, it took the impact on the fall. So I think having a strong body, obviously strong body, strong mind, but it's those things as you get older are very important.
Definitely, yeah. And you notice obviously when you do get the change in hormones, which effectively are happening from your mid-20s onwards, but particularly as you get into your 50s for both genders. And that means that your body, it's more catabolic, so you are losing bone density
Mhm.
as well as muscle tissue. So um, yeah, it's worth emphasizing how important that is, and it's not being ageist, where it's looking at really what's important. My parents are late mid 60s, mid 70s, so and they've been doing weight training. They both actually had hip operations recently, and the fact that they were training before meant that they recovered so much faster, and that is so important, because it obviously can be so debilitating when you have a major operation like that, for both having hip replacements.
Mhm.
So those kind of things are very, very important. You don't need to see
Yeah,
an age to
I
do them.
had a man in his 70s training with me for a long time, and he had a serious accident, which required a surgeon to come down from Dublin to the Galway clinic to operate on him. But the surgeon said to him, if he hadn't been so physically strong, he wouldn't have been able to actually perform the procedure. But
Mm,
because his body was so physically strong, he could do the operation because he knew he'd recover faster. So resistance training goes beyond the aesthetics of how you look. It's really about the internal health and strength of your whole body. So I actually before, used to think, do the exercise that you enjoy the most, but I actually think it's nearly a requirement now. If you want to be the best you have to incorporate that resistance training 3 times a week. But it will serve you so well as your in day-to-day
yeah,
experience of life and as you get older.
100%. So as you get into your 60s, looking at things like making sure that you get good digestive enzymes can be good, maybe probiotics. It really depends, actually, depending on what age you are. If you've taken a lot of antibiotics, there can be some that can have an impact on your gut health. So making sure that you're getting good probiotic supplements, even taking prebiotic fibers can be really good. And you can obviously search more about taking those sort of things, but that's very important. As you get older, things tend to slow down a little bit more, so making sure that you've got good digestive health, and that it's everything is circulating well. Obviously, circulation is going to be so important. Taking foods in that can really boost your circulation. Anything that things like beetroot are particularly good. Anything that produces nitric oxide, you can get a nitric oxide supplement. We do one that's called Nova. It's absolutely amazing. The combination of amino acids that are in Nova help to prolong this nitric oxide effect, a little bit like a natural Viagra, in fact. Take note. So it's absolutely incredible. But yeah, so things like circulation naturally are going to be so much more important. Doing that type of training that we've been talking about, no matter what your age, really does benefit circulation, to get the blood to get to every cell in the body. What can happen is you get older and your circulation slows down. You don't get the nutrition into the cells on the extremities. So this can be just a brilliant way to do it. So good circulation, eating foods that are going to promote that, and having very good clear goals as you get into your 60s. Maybe
Mhm.
work goals are taking a backseat. Maybe families are growing up, and then it's sort of resetting your objectives, deciding what you're going to be about. Having a purpose is going to be massively important. Giving drive to life, those sort of elements are going to be massively important. And active, balanced, and centered, ABC for 70s and 80s and beyond. So I think we've got some really good, um, I think, just things to be aware of that you're not thinking of, and these are very obvious tips that we're making, but sometimes you can get into habits and you're slightly ignoring them, or maybe one of them needs a little bit of attention. And I think, again, we're going to say, as you get older, 70s, 80s, weight training, making sure that you're physically active, making sure that you're getting good nutrition, focusing on good digestive health and circulation, all super important. And I think one thing, Jacqui, that I've noticed is that people have this idea that when they get older, they're not able to do things like weight training, or they're not able to do certain activities. And from our experience, that's just rubbish.
But Jamie, isn't everything a mindset anyway in life? You're
100%.
going to have, you're going to have people who come in here and they are, a lot of elderly people that I've dealt with can be quite fearful and not knowing. And then, they're in good hands here because we take them gently through the process. And suddenly, after a period of time, they get so strong, they get so into it. I had a man in his 70s who joined because of a woman who referred him in. And he literally had never been in a gym in his entire life. He didn't even have a tracksuit. And that's the great thing. He could come in actually in his work clothes and he could do the workout, which is brilliant. But the beginning of it, the first 2 or 3 weeks, like it just took a lot of patience as a trainer with him. But he eventually got it, and it became his lifestyle, and he became a full-time member with us. But his asthma improved from it, his energy improved, he lost a stone in weight. So but it's important to go to the right type of trainer. Our system, our machine, our Frankenstein machine, as we call it, or the time machine, is fantastic because people are so secure in that machine. There's very little room for error. I would say that, make sure that when you are going to a trainer, you are going to somebody who has experience, because Jamie, I've gone into regular gyms when I'm on holidays, and what I see youngsters trying to get older people to do is just ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, so it is important to be in the right hands and do your research, or just come into us at Educogym.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to just across the bottom of the screen, we give you a chance to download this guide. And so it's educogym secrets.com/healthy-at-every-age. So you'll be able to get your free guide there, and we hope you enjoy it. So Jacqui, you've been nominated for an award. So tell us more about it.
I sure have. So I became a member of Network Ireland only about 2 months ago, but they were running a competition. But what caught my attention about this competition was they had a category. So they had 7 different categories, and the 7th category was the power within. And that's very much our ethos, or what we're about at Educogym. We say go from you to the super you, draw out the power from within. So I thought it was the coolest thing ever. So I entered on that basis. Now there was different categories. I entered into established business. So I'm delighted to say that I've been shortlisted for the Limerick, with the Limerick branch for that area. And I'm delighted, but everybody gets entered into the Super U category as well. So if you win on one of those, you get entered into this. So yeah, I'm delighted, but I thought it was fascinating because the Super U, they asked you to explain, you had to fill out this questionnaire, and that took time actually, but what that meant to you. So I was super excited to explain that, the power within is everything about what the Educogym is about. The Educo model is about the power within. And, they asked, how would you educate, or what tools would you teach women to cause to draw out that power within? So, Educogym time machine, I mean, when you train on that time machine and you're lifting those heavy weights, it causes you to focus. And anything in life that causes you to focus is going to draw out that innate power from within, because people will relate to that. If they do something that they absolutely love doing, they feel so good. So what is that? That's your life feeding back to you that this is something that it loves you doing, because it frees up that energy and draws out that power from within. So I absolutely was delighted to see that category. And I think people are becoming more in life, more aware of that there is something more, Jamie. I mean, for years, as a child, I used to always, I've said this before, used to think, well, what is it? Well, it is this energy that's within us, it's within us all, but just people don't have the education of how to actually access it and draw it out. Now, you and I are so fortunate because we have the tools, we have the model, we have the steps that we learned from Dr. Tony Quinn on how to draw that energy and that life force out. People can read books, they can, think they know it intellectually, but there's a big difference between knowing something intellectually and actually having an actual understanding of something. So it's like, people are all open to going into gyms now, to getting fitter and healthier. They understand that they have to train, they have to eat a right diet. But, you know, guys, there is an Educo model there that actually teaches you about your mind, and there's practical steps that you apply to your life to draw out that super you from within. There's nobody else I know on the planet that's teaching it other than Dr. Tony Quinn with the Educo model. I've read all the books. I've read them all, and none of them worked. Okay, I was lucky. I did a seminar when I was 20 years of age, and that taught me all the tools that I needed to know. But honestly, that learning has stood to me my whole life, and it actually keeps getting better and better. My understanding of the process keeps getting better and better. You know, and the key fundamentals about that model is that, you know, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But Dr. Tony Quinn teaches you the steps of how to get those programs in to bring them about. But beyond that, it's about actually drawing out the energy that you are as a human being. You know, and Jamie, the other thing, you know, we speak about getting older. And I read something there where somebody was saying that life gets better, but actually, in fact, a lot of people, if you were to talk to them as they get older, it's not getting better. And I was listening to a man that I met in one of these seminars speaking only the other night. And he was achieving huge success. He's achieving, I mean, serious success at the moment, right? But he was asked a question, and you know what really touched me was, at the end of the day, his happiness. It's about the happiness that he now has because he's accessed the real him. He understands it. He's working with that on a daily basis. And I think it ultimately, for everybody, I know that, you know, you can achieve all these great things materialistically in your life, but the foundation is actually that relationship with yourself, and developing that relationship with yourself and drawing out that energy and potential within you. And I think if more people could actually look, I think a lot of people are looking for that, but they're not getting. If you're not getting the results that you know innately that you should be getting, well, then the Educo model is the answer. It completely is the answer. And we'd be more than happy to share it with anybody who wants more information on it.
Yeah, we would. Absolutely. Totally passionate about it. We've seen the difference it's made to us and to so many other people. So that's great. Congratulations on being nominated.
Thank
So
you.
best of luck. We obviously hope that you win. We're going to put our minds to it. And for everybody who's watching today live, thank you very much. You can see Colette, Paul, Cora, Nora. Yeah, thank you very much. It's brilliant to see you. And if you're watching it later on, we really hope that you enjoy it. So do let us know. Just put replay in the comments if you watch it later on, so that we know that you were here. And we do hope you enjoy the free guide. There's the URL for it so that you can download it. And I think it's got some great tips. Again, just to make you conscious of maybe different areas that perhaps you're not focused on and we really think that you should be. And it'll just make it much more obvious to you. So, Jacqui, thanks so much. Another Saturday morning. Not such
Jamie,
a nice
we just
day
need
today,
to.
but
We need to. No, it's not, unfortunately. But the competition for
yes.
the Super U box.
Yes.
Will you tell our lovely listeners? Okay, so guys, we've decided to run it for the month, because the key step we want you to take is to give us a review. So Jamie, I think you said you might be able to show people how they have to do that, or the steps to go about doing it.
Absolutely. So maybe if I bring back up that screen, and yeah, so what you do is you go onto our Facebook page, and obviously if you're watching this, you're likely on it unless you're watching on YouTube. And on the Facebook page, if I just bring up and Facebook. Oh dear, it's going to ask me to log in. So when you go to our Facebook page, you'll see an area that says reviews. And under reviews, if you go to Educogym, and let me see, hopefully as I manage this page, it maybe would not show me, but there is an area where you'll see reviews on the page. And if you click on reviews, I can't actually see where it's coming up on this page here. So
basically, yeah, we want people to take a review, to write a review, to screenshot it, and then they're to text it to us at the number that's provided So send us a text message with your review and send it
Yeah.
to us. And
Yeah.
we'll run a competition every month where we'll give different prizes. But this one is the Super U box and a consultation with myself. And so just onto Educogym Facebook page and under the review section, just give us a fantastic review.
That's right. When you click on the reviews, you can see there where we have reviews, but you'll see on the page, and there'll be a space where you can leave a review, and we would love to have your reviews. And then you could be in to win one of our incredible Super U boxes, and more importantly, consultation with Jacqui.
Yes.
That's an absolutely brilliant prize, honestly. So get reviewing, please.
Yes. Fantastic.
So that's it for today. Thank you so much again, everybody, for joining us. Jacqui, great to have you with us again. And we will see you again next Saturday for a new show. So thanks, everybody. And we will see you soon.